Good afternoon, I'm Emma Vardy with the news in the south. A 32-year-old man's appeared at court in Portsmouth this morning, accused of the manslaughter of an off-duty prison officer on the Isle of Wight. Nick Medlin was confirmed dead in the early hours of Christmas Day. Roger Finn has been at Portsmouth Magistrates Court and sends us this report.
Michael Hudson, who's 32 and of no fixed address, appeared briefly here this morning, accused of an unlawful killing. It's alleged that late on Christmas Eve there was an assault outside the Rose Inn at Ventnor on the Isle of Wight. Police were called, but 57-year-old Nick Medlin was pronounced dead at the scene just after midnight on Christmas Day. For the last 2 years he's been a prison officer at Parkhurst on the island. He's also the father of 2 boys and the bass player in a punk band called Manufactured Romance. This morning, magistrates told Michael Hudson that he would be remanded in custody until an appearance at Winchester Crown Court on the 23rd of January. 2 other men, aged 31 and 26, who are arrested on suspicion of murder, have been released on bail until April. Roger Finn for BBC South Today at Portsmouth Magistrates Court.
St Mary's Hospital on the Isle of Wight remains on black alert this morning, meaning planned operations are being cancelled after extremely high pressure on its services. But one of the hospital directors told the BBC this morning the pressure has eased slightly, with extra nurses and doctors being brought in to deal with demand and more beds being opened. The leader of West Sussex County Council has called for action to address what she's calling the huge detrimental effect the current Southern rail strikes are having on the county. Louise Goldsmith has written to the Secretary of State for Transport, Chris Grayling, to highlight the economic and social impact the industrial action is having. The outgoing chief executive in charge of 3 of Hampshire's hospitals has spoken about the difficult times facing the health service as she comes to the end of 40 years working in the NHS. Mary Edwards is responsible for Hampshire Hospitals Trust with sites in Winchester, Andover and Basingstoke. She's been speaking to our reporter Jo Campbell.
Yeah, I thought I'd do my last Christmas. I've done the last 13.
Mary Edwards isn't saying goodbye just yet, but come the new year, this will no longer be one of her 3 hospitals. That doesn't stop her noting the emergency department here hasn't been spruced up under the last 3 prime ministers.
Really, we ought to be investing in new lifts so that we didn't have to keep repairing, but each lift is probably up to £250,000 and at the moment we can't prioritise that above other things. Oh yeah, you're right.
One priority will be keeping overseas staff, many of whom have been unsettled by the past year's events. So what does she say to those negotiating Brexit?
I'd be asking them to do their best to try and make sure that we don't destabilise those people who work in an international business. We need staff from overseas and we need them to feel highly valued.
Soon there'll be a new picture hanging here, and after forking out a hefty sum for healthcare to visit family in Australia and the US on her retirement, Mary Edwards for one remains convinced the NHS is still a bit of a bargain. Jo Campbell, BBC South Today.
Now it's a bright but chilly afternoon. Let's take a look at the weather with B. Tucker.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, for most of us, it's fairly bright out there. We have got plenty of sunshine, 1 or 2 lingering fog patches, but a good deal of dry and bright weather for this afternoon. Now, the fog is mainly lingering up towards northern parts further south, the best of the brightness and the temperatures. Here we could see highs of 9 or 10 degrees. Now, I think once it starts to get dark, the mist and fog will re-thicken, but it will be not as dense as recent nights. We've got more of a breeze and we've got a more solid layer of cloud pushing in from the west. So it will still be quite a grey night. With that cloud layer, though, most towns and cities will be hovering just that little bit above freezing. So we could see a touch of frost rurally first thing tomorrow, but I think a fairly bright start. There will be quite a bit of cloud about during the day, though, more so compared with today. Even though it's mild air and those temperatures are climbing up, I think with less sunshine, it may not feel any different to today. And then as we head towards the weekend for New Year's Eve, it looks like we've got a weather front pushing down from the north. For New Year's Eve itself, it should be dry with increasing amounts of cloud, and we'll see that rain spreading in on New Year's Day. Have a good afternoon.
Well, that's all from us for now. Our next regional news is at 6:45 this evening. There's plenty more, of course, on the BBC website. Whatever you're up to, enjoy your afternoon. Bye for now.